Smith.
Here.
Thank you. You have quorum.
Thank you. This is a very solemn day for us. We'll begin by paying tribute to a public servant who has dedicated more than 30 years of his life to protecting Hillsborough County residents, businesses, and visitors. Sergeant Brian Roy Levine of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I'd like to ask our chaplain, Commissioner Stacy White, to conduct the pledge and invocation. Commissioner White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I'll ask that if you're able to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, I pray that you will guide this board, our staff, and stakeholders as we make important decisions this morning. And as always, Lord, I ask for your blessings and that you will watch over all of our brave men and women who served in our armed forces and who are first responders. And I especially this morning, Lord, ask for your blessings upon the family of the fallen hero that we will be recognizing this morning. I ask for all of these blessings in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner White. On January 11th of this year, Sergeant Brian Roy Levine made the ultimate sacrifice. He was killed in the line of duty while rushing to his colleague's aid to apprehend a suspect. All of our hearts are broken because when we lose one of our first responders, it profoundly affects us all. This board offers its sincerest condolences to his family and his colleagues who have joined us today. And I see that Sergeant Levine's family members are present virtually. And welcome and thank you for being here. And now I'd like to recognize Commissioner Smith. Commissioner, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As our community suffers the tragic loss of Sergeant Levine, we are hearing his life story from the people who loved him and those who worked side by side with him. And I have been profoundly moved and inspired by these stories, as I know we all are. And I hope the family takes comfort in knowing that their beloved husband and father leaves a great legacy behind in this community that will live on for generations. Established in 2010, Hillsborough County's Fallen Heroes program recognizes law enforcement officers, firefighters, and other first responders who have given their lives in the line of duty, and provides assistance to their families during times of unimaginable grief. This tribute serves as a remembrance to Sergeant Brian Roy Levine, a Hillsborough County fallen hero. In honor of his service to Hillsborough County, it is with deep reverence that I present this memoriam. It reads, whereas the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners recognizes individuals whose commitment and dedication have made a lasting impact on the community and its residents. And one such person is Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Sergeant Brian Roy Levine, who was killed in the line of duty on January 11, 2021. And whereas, born on June 6, 1966, Sergeant Levine was raised in upstate New York and moved to Florida his sophomore year of high school, where he met a young woman named Kathleen, who would become the love of his life. And whereas, Sergeant Levine began a distinguished 33-year career serving and protecting the community as a law enforcement officer with the Largo Police Department before joining the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in 1990. And whereas, devoted to ensuring the public safety and held in high regard throughout the Sheriff's Office and community, Sergeant Levine served in several areas, including special investigations, community outreach and patrol, and as a school resource officer. And whereas Sergeant Levine, whose numerous colleagues included his daughter, further served as a field training officer who mentored many deputies, including some who went on to earn high ranks and become members of the Sheriff's Command staff. And whereas, many times decorated, Sergeant Levine's honors included the Sheriff's Office Life-Saving Award in 2017, Deputy of the Half in 1992, Outstanding Squad Award in 2014, and numerous Mothers Against Drunk Driving recognitions for his tireless efforts against drunk driving. And whereas, a man with a great sense of humor and many interests, Sergeant Levine earned a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, became a certified Spanish translator after teaching himself to fluently speak the language, and mastered the bagpipes. And he was a passionate Tampa Bay Lightning fan and soccer coach who loved traveling and a properly poured Guinness. And whereas, on the evening of January 11, 2021, with just one shift remaining before he would begin retirement, Sergeant Levine, while on patrol, quickly responded to assist fellow deputies apprehend a suspect who was eluding them, but was struck by the suspect's vehicle, causing fatal injuries. And whereas, although the loss of this outstanding man is difficult to bear, his legacy lives on through the improvements he made to the community in the way he influenced others to make a difference, and in all those whose lives he touched. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby urge all residents to join in expressing both sorrow and appreciation to his loving wife of 33 years, Kathleen Diane Russell Levine, and his children, Caitlin Teresa Levine and Aaron Liam Levine, mother, Carol Levine, sister, Pamela Way, brother, Kevin Levine, his wife, Evelyn, and other family members and his colleagues. This board hopes they take solace in the many cherished memories and positive impact Sergeant Brian LaVigne made during his lifetime. It's executed this third day of February 2021, signed by all 7 commissioners. And in addition to this memoriam, a special plaque honoring Sergeant Levine will be presented to his family. And engraved on the plaque is the following: Hillsborough County honors the memory of Sergeant Brian Roy Levine for his tireless dedication to the safety and well-being of others and giving his life for the good of his community as a member of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. The loss of Sergeant Levine while on duty on January 11, 2021 is a tragedy whose grief we feel deeply and share with his family. Hillsborough County will always remember and appreciate Sergeant Levine and his family. Dedicated this third day of February 2021 by the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. And at this point, I would turn to his family, Kathleen, Caitlin, and Aaron, who are with us today. We all know this is a very difficult time for you. You are welcome to say a few words if you wish, and we certainly understand if you do not.
Thank you. I have a very few words. Thank you for honoring Brian this morning. He was many things, and honorable was definitely one of them. The job he did can require sacrifices, your sleep, your marriage, your sanity, and or your life. So thank you to the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners for recognizing the sacrifice. Thank you to Sheriff Chad Cronister and his team for their support. And to the men and women who put on the belt and vest and head out the door, we thank you.
Thank you. And would you like to say a few words as well, Caitlin, or any other members of the family?
No, I think my mom sums everything up pretty well.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate your video, your courage in providing some history and story of your father in that video. It moved me deeply.
Thank you.
Sheriff Chad Cronister has joined us today. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Chair Kemp, Commissioner Smith, and distinguished board, I want to sincerely thank you for this special presentation. And thank you to the Levine family. Kathy, Caitlin, I know that you are uneasy with this type of fanfare. I believe I speak for all of Hillsborough, the entire Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, when I say Sergeant Levine was the kind of deputy who was more than deserving of this honor. For more than 30 years, he committed his life to protecting and serving our community by keeping drunk drivers off our roads, protecting children in our schools, and answering any call for service that came his way. He was a role model among deputies, and more important than that, he was a role model to his two children, Caitlin and Aaron. I believe that Sergeant Levine's family, including his wife Kathy, is the best legacy he leaves behind. Throughout this tragedy, I've gotten a chance to get to know them, and I'm extremely grateful for that. I can tell you that just like the Levines, all of us at HCSO are still grieving his untimely death, and this pain will not go away anytime soon. We still have a long road ahead of us as we work to ensure that justice is served. But in the meantime, Commissioners, this beautiful tribute serves as a bright light in all this darkness. Again, thank you for taking the time to honor our fallen hero.
Thank you, Sheriff Cronister. As part of the Fallen Heroes program, the county creates an online tribute that celebrates the great sacrifices of these brave public servants. I encourage everybody to visit Hillsborough's fallenheroes.org. That's Hillsborough's fallenheroes.org. It provides information about the program and all of our first responders who gave their lives for their community. It is truly humbling to read their stories of heroism and sacrifice. You can also donate to Sergeant Levine's Memorial Fund by using the link on his page at that website. And at this point, we will now present a special video in remembrance of Sergeant Levine. The staff will play the video.
He was my dad, and he was my best friend. That's who Brian LaVigne was.
Brian was a very charismatic person, magnetic, contagious. Just wanted to be around the guy.
My mom was his person. You could just tell they were meant to be together. She was his high school sweetheart. Followed her around. Just you knew they were meant to be together. And then me and my sister were just his pride and joy. He'd take his vacation time to coach soccer for us. He'd spend every weekend with us. He worked midnights for years, passing up promotions just to stay on midnight so that he could be home when we got up, and then he'd be up when we got home from school. But you just knew, everyone knew we were his priority.
I'd say most of us make that mistake. We put this job first. No, he didn't.
Even when I was a kid, I was gonna be like Dad when I grew up. There's no convincing me otherwise. No one even tried. But I wanted to be just like him. I wanted to be an FTO like him. I When he made street crimes, I wanted to be on street crimes too. Whatever he did, I wanted to do. I wanted to do what he did for people. I wanted to make people feel like he made them feel. It's just, there's no words to describe like how much of a good influence he was on people.
Brian was a cop's cop, and he knew how, with a recruit, to instill the values that they need in the profession. As a person, and as a cop.
He was just so selfless. He was a role model. He had a positive impact on a lot of lives. And there was a lot of love for him. And it was well deserved because he was that good of a person. I think we all kind of lost a little bit of ourselves.
Thank you for that beautiful video tribute. We are very grateful to Sergeant Levine's daughter, Deputy Caitlin Levine, and Sergeant Tim Sullivan for telling us about this inspirational man whose life touched so many and whose work will live on as a role model in our sheriff's department and in our community. And I hope that the family and friends and all of the sheriffs can feel that this community shares your grief. And I hope that helps you to bear it. And I hope you feel our deep appreciation for the life and service of Sergeant Brian Levine. And at that point, I will turn the ceremony over to Chair Kemp to close and invite other commissioners to speak. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Commissioner Kemp. And I'm Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and I truly appreciate all the words that were spoken, not only from the board and the sheriff, but most importantly from the family. When an individual steps forward to protect and serve our citizens, they don't come alone. They come with the family. And it sounds as though Sergeant Levine did a wonderful job of balancing his commitment to protect and serve and his commitment to his family as they walked along this protect and serve mission that he stepped so courageously forward. We all have lost a hero, and no more deeply than the family have, but I just want to thank Kathy and Caitlin and Aaron for sharing him with us, for he served our county well and will always be remembered. And with that, my heart is with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Overman. I think we don't have the words like the family has the words almost to express the loss we've had. It's obviously a very brilliant light that we've lost here, and so tragically on his last night of service. And I was just struck by the fact that he self-taught himself Spanish to the point that he could become a translator. And I think a dedication like that is obviously such a work of love for others to do that. And so much of his story, as conveyed to us this morning, is just reflects the love and really his brilliance around. So I'm glad that we are able to know some of that. And I want to thank the Levine family for being here today. It's our privilege to pay our respects to a man who served Hillsborough County with unconditional selflessness. We'll always remember and appreciate his courage, dedication, and sacrifice for many years to come. Our thoughts and prayers are with you all, in addition to all of our first responders as they work each and every day to keep Hillsborough County safe. And we have one other special recognition today. Commissioner Myers, will you now present a proclamation for Black History Month? Commissioner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is Ovette Wilson, the principal of Dr. Carter G. Woodson PK through 8th Leadership Academy here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. African Americans and their history, tradition, and culture are essential to the foundation and prosperity of the United States. They have made incredible contributions in diverse fields such as science, politics, sports, law, and the arts. Since 1976, Black History Month has served as a tribute to African Americans, honoring their numerous triumphancies and roles in the nation's history. It is my great pleasure to present this proclamation to Mr. Wilson, declaring February 1st through March 1st, 2021 as Black History Month. It reads, whereas in 1926, Dr. Carter G. Woodson and the Association for Studies of African American Life and History sponsored a National Negro History Week, choosing the second week of February to coincide with birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. By the late 1960s, thanks in part to the Civil Rights Movement and a growing awareness of Black identity, the week-long celebration evolved into a month-long one on many college campuses. And in 1976, President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month. And whereas Black History Month is observed annually across the United States in February, it serves as a celebration of African American achievements, as well as a time to recognize crucial roles they have played in the U.S. history, and to pay tribute to generations of Black Americans who struggled through adversity to achieve full citizenship in our society. And whereas notable Black Americans, including Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King Jr., Maya Angelou, and Oprah Winfrey, has made groundbreaking accomplishments and broken countless barriers. And whereas we celebrate the first, Jackie Robinson became the first African American to play in Major League Baseball. The late Leanna Shaw Jr. was the state's first African American Chief Justice. Mae Jemison was the first African American woman to travel into space. Peggy Quince was the first African American woman to serve as the state's Chief Justice. Barack Obama was the first African American president of the United States. Jennifer King is the first African American woman NFL full-time assistant coach. Kamala Harris is the first African American woman vice president of the United States. And Lord Austin is the first African American defense secretary of the United States. And whereas the late Clara Fry, Queen Miller, the Bean family, the late George Edgecombe and Doretha Edgecombe, the late C. Blythe Andrews Jr., former state senator Arthenia Joyner, Gwendolyn Miller, and Leslie Les Miller Jr., and a multitude of other prominent local Black residents have helped Hillsborough County to flourish. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby declare February 1st through March 1st, 2021 as Black History Month in Hillsborough County, and encourages all residents and visitors to celebrate and remember countless achievements of Black people whose legacy and positive impact will continue to shine for generations to come. Executed this third day of February 2021, signed by all 7 commissioners. Mr. Wilson, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. On behalf of the faculty, staff, parents, students, and our community, we just want to thank you for the recognition. It's very important. I know Dr. Carter G. Woodson, one of the things that was so profound is his work with history. You know, he said history plus culture equal our value system, and it was very important for him. So thank you.
And I guess see, Commissioner Overman, is your hand up as well for this? Yes, you're recognized.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. And Commissioner Myers, thank you so much for helping us remember all of the wonderful folks that locally have done such a terrific job of showing leadership, but also nationally. You know, we've made a lot of progress, and we still have a lot of work to do to really celebrate the history of the wonderful contributions that are made to our communities and to our nation. Carrie Meeks was the first Black woman to be elected in Florida to this Florida Senate. But that wasn't until 1982 and through 1992. We have had some amazing Black leaders in the state of Florida that have done a fabulous job. And I am so thankful that you've brought this forward and give us a chance to really share with everyone we know all month long the amazing citizens that have done a great job of not only bringing great things to our communities, but also taking a lead and speaking about the wonderful things that our community is blessed by within the Black community. And thank you so much.
Thank you. And I want to thank you too, Commissioner Myers, for bringing forward that recognition for Black History Month and having us thinking about so many people whose shoulders we all stand on for making this country and this community a more prosperous and wonderful place to be. I also want to thank Ovette Wilson and everyone else for joining us today and for everything that they do to make Hillsborough County a great place to live and work. And finally, before we move on, I'd just like to recognize today in the U.S. Capitol, in a rare time that U.S. Capitol Police officer is laid out in the U.S. Capitol, Brian Sicknick, and just like to express our condolences as well, or our thoughts for him this morning. And with that, we'll just move to approval of changes to the agenda. And Ms. Wise.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one item that is deleted from the agenda. That's item A29. We have item A42, which is deferred to February 17th, which is a budget amendment for the Department of Juvenile Justice. At 10 a.m., item D1 is a public hearing to amend Chapter 106 of the Hillsborough County Code of Ordinances and Laws, eliminating the authorization to establish impact fee assessment units for the payment of water and wastewater impact fees. Item D2 at 10 a.m. is a public hearing to amend Chapter 102 of the Hillsborough County Code of Ordinances and Laws, which will eliminate the option for developers and builders to choose the impact fee assessment unit program to pay a portion of the impact fees over time. Item D3 at 10 a.m. is the second of 2 required public hearings for school concurrency proportionate share mitigation development agreement with the School Board of Hillsborough County and Pulte Home Company for the Girl Scout Camp project. Item D4 at 10 a.m. is the second of 2 required public hearings to enter into a school concurrency proportionate share mitigation development agreement with the school board and Franklin Development Corp. For the Bougainvillea townhomes. Item D5 at 10 a.m. is to conduct the first of 2 required public hearings for school concurrency proportionate share mitigation development agreement with the school board and Homes by West Bay LLC for the Hinton Hawkstone subdivision. Item E1 at 10:15 is the emergency management operations related to COVID-19 and the local state of emergency. At 10:45, item F2 is Commissioner Cohen's item to rename 419 North Pierce Street for the Honorable Pat Frank. Item B2 at 11 a.m. is to accept the code violations process audit report performed by the County Internal Auditor's Office. Those are the changes to the agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion to move the changes. Commissioner White, seconded by,
Second.
we have a second by Commissioner Overman. And seeing no discussion, can we have a roll call, please?
Kemp,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. We'll move now to public comments. The board welcomes comments from citizens about any issue or concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing input to the board members. However, it is requested at the same time when you address the board that comments are not directed personally against a commissioner or staff member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between board members and the public. The board has set aside a 45-minute period in the morning immediately following changes to the agenda for public comments. At the discretion of the chair, the board may again hear public comments at the end of the meeting. Anyone who wishes to speak during the meeting will be able to do so by completing the online public comment form found at hillsboroughcounty.org/speakup. You'll be required to provide your name and telephone number on the online form. This information is being requested to facilitate the audio conferencing process. The chair will call on speakers by name in order in which they have completed the online public comment form. Prioritization is on a first-come, first-served basis. An audio call-in number will be provided to participants that have completed the form after it's received by the county. All callers will be muted upon calling and will be unmuted in the submission order after being recognized by the chair by name. Up to 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. Citizens speaking on scheduled agenda items will be heard before citizens speaking on non-scheduled agenda items. When addressing the board, please state your name and speak clearly. And with that, we will move to our first public comment. I have Sandy Council. Ms. Council, is Ms. Council present?
Ms. Council has not checked in, Commissioner?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing what you responded.
I'm sorry, Ms. Council has not checked in.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move to the next speaker, Noelle LaCour.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to speak on agenda items B1 and F1. B1, it's heartbreaking watching my neighbors be kicked out of their homes. Some are renters and some are homeowners. A renter on my street was forced out after the home she was renting was foreclosed on and auctioned off in December. She was informed by an unknown man in a Ferrari that the house had been sold and that she needed to move out in 2 weeks. She immediately called her landlord, who did not answer and still has not returned her calls, which also means she probably won't be getting her deposit back. She was never late with a rent payment. She had to sell a lot of her possessions to raise money to help pay for moving expenses and to secure another house. This is not right. No one should be treated like that. Our residents deserve better. Please support directing the county attorney's office to draft a renter's bill of rights, and if possible, have some outreach to stakeholders as it's being developed. Also, please consider doing something for homeowners as well. Another neighbor of mine who was current on her mortgage was evicted for a HOA lien worth $1,407. From lien to foreclosure only took about 6 months and was signed off by the developer, not the HOA board, which is illegal. This single mother of 9 lost her home on a Zoom court hearing that she didn't even have the link for. 5 homes have been foreclosed in my neighborhood since COVID hit, and there are about 8 more in the pipelines. Agenda item F1. The Planning Commission desperately needs someone from the South Hillsborough County area, and Vivian Handy is that person. She would make a great asset to the Planning Commission. Please keep that in mind today as you all vote to appoint a new Planning Commissioner. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. LaCour. We'll move now to Tina Swain. Is Tina Swain present virtually?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. You're recognized.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ms.
Okay.
Swain.
Great. My name is Tina Swain. Okay. I'm with Habitat for Humanity of Hillsborough County. Nearly 1/3 of Black renters pay more than half of their income on housing, which is higher than any other racial or ethnic group, which leaves little in the budget for food, healthcare, transportation, or savings. In 2020, Brookings released data that indicated that the net worth of a typical white family is nearly 10 times greater than that of the net worth of a typical Black family. As a result, Black parents have dramatically less wealth, assets, and economic security to pass on to their children, driving economic, educational, and housing disparities for the next generation as well. Not very long ago, I provided the Commission with some data that showcased how Habitat for Humanity is shrinking the wealth gap in our county through the mechanism of affordable homeownership. As Habitat continues to grow, our partnership with local government is important, and that's why I'm here. I wanted to let you know that the rising cost of land and building costs, having some ongoing solutions that are more efficient will allow affordable homeownership to grow in capacity and have greater impact on the wealth gap that we see in our community. And I just wanted to offer a potential solution that would not require the arduous RFP process that's followed by contracts and environmental reviews and then HUD reviews and the many signatures and approvals that have to take place, which are all necessary given the level of funding that comes from the RFP process, but it does take up significant time. So one solution could be a more robust down payment assistance program. The current program, it's appreciated, but access to it is restrictive, and per unit funding is insignificant, given the rising cost of land and materials. County personnel already have the experience implementing such programs and could do so with the allocation of HOPE or SHIP funds. The City of Tampa already has such a program that funds at $30,000 per unit for eligible applicants. And Habitat Hillsborough successfully partners with the city to provide families access to that assistance so that their mortgage payments are affordable. We're all aware of the policies that cause disparities in homeownership, and I believe we've all taken steps to try to correct the mistakes, but we're not finished. And we see the gap of 30% in homeownership rates between white and Black families, and it's clear that homeownership is a significant contributor to the wealth gap. Homeownership continues to be the primary mechanism that American families use to build wealth. And so allocating funding to a robust down payment assistance program locally will assist families obtain affordable monthly payments. And though we cannot erase the policy mistakes of the past that caused some of these disparities in homeownership, we can take responsibility in the present. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I'll recognize Susan Nicely. Has she checked in virtually? Is she there?
Susan, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Thank you. This is Susan Nicely. I have been a long-term resident of Hillsborough County for 40-plus years and attended the last commission meeting. I'm very concerned about the discussion about the ferry. First of all, just the general cost of it in general, and then the fact that you think it's going to be a solution for MacDill Air Force Base when there's not a good infrastructure there once the ferry docks and people need to get to work. The weather that we have here in the summer, I really think there are other viable solutions. The fact that we've allowed South Tampa to be very much so overbuilt. And I'd like for you to either get public comment before pursuing this further and look at other solutions like repairing the roads. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. And has Ms. Council joined us at this time, or is there anyone else for public comment?
I believe that's all for general public comment.
Thank you. We'll move now to our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the?
Second. Move approval.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner White, seconded by Commissioner Cohen to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Kemp,
Yes.
Cullen,
Yes.
Hagan,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Overman,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. And now we will move to our regular agenda. Ms. Wise, County Administrator.
Thank you. We have a few minutes before our 10 o'clock public hearing, so we will move to the regular agenda. The first item is item B1, which is regarding a renter's bill of rights, which Commissioner Overman asked us to bring back to you. Cheryl Howell, Affordable Housing Director, is here to present that item.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Cheryl Howell, Affordable Housing Services. On January 6th, the board directed appropriate staff and the county attorney's office to work with appropriate agencies to bring back to the February 3rd meeting a renter's bill of rights. After some research, I found that a tremendous amount of focus on keeping families stably housed and access to housing for families is occurring at the federal, state, and even in the private sector. At the federal level, the Neighborhood Investment Act is proposed to help address the impact of the loss of income by landlords while simultaneously working to support the stabilization of families to ensure fair access to housing. This act also requires research to be completed on the impacts of evictions for families. And there's also an extension of an eviction moratorium included in this act to prevent the onslaught of evictions. At the state level, there are currently 2 proposed bills by the Senate that would enhance the renter Bill of Rights. Senate Bill 412 would provide consistency and legal enforcement to prevent or reduce foreclosures by requiring an independent mediator between landlords and tenants before eviction papers are processed. Senate Bill 926 would seal the records of anyone convicted from their home due to COVID-related issues such as loss of a job or reduced income, and help to position the family to have better access to decent housing as they recover from the pandemic. And as I said previously, even the private sector has gotten involved on ensuring that families remain stably housed. Zillow has expanded its local legal protections tool to include source of income protections data on all rental listings. This action will allow users to identify whether rental listings lie in a jurisdiction with the local source of income protections that prohibit landlord discrimination against prospective tenants based on their source of income, including the housing choice voucher, or what's commonly known as Section 8. In today's recommendation to the board, we're asking A, to approve the Affordable Housing Services Department recommendations to 1, adopt a renter's bill of rights requiring landlords to provide a notice to tenants of their housing rights and identifying resources for tenant assistance. And 2, consider the option of adding a provision to the renter's bill of rights prohibiting landlords from discriminating against prospective tenants on the basis of lawful source of income, including Section 8 vouchers. And B, direct the county attorney's office to draft an ordinance adopting a renter's bill of rights, which 1, requires landlords to provide a notice to tenants of their housing rights and identifying resources for tenant assistance, and or 2, prohibit the landlords from discriminating against prospective tenants on the basis of lawful source of income, including Section 8 vouchers. Now, please note the creation of this ordinance will not have a fiscal impact, but the enforcement of the ordinance will require additional action that could have a fiscal impact to carry out activities such as educating tenants and landlords, creating and managing a hotline, and inspectors and monitors of the program to respond to citizen and landlord inquiries or complaints.
Thank you, Ms. Howell. And I see Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Howell and Ms. Beck and their teams for bringing these recommendations to us on a timely fashion. This is a step we should take to bring equity into the non-homeowning residents within the county. I brought this item forward as many residents have faced eviction due to the economic fallout of the pandemic and are feeling the financial pain at no cause of their own. We saw the numbers of individuals in trouble when we opened up the first R3 program. The phones were inundated and our emails were swamped with pleas for help. I'm looking forward to the discussion on the recommendations brought forward by the Affordable Housing Services Department and to hear everyone's thoughts about how we help our citizens maintain their stable housing, which is so critical foundation to the success of our communities. It is important that we move with some expediency as well, because we have yet to see the ramifications of the many months of people being put out of work or having reduced hours due to the pandemic. If we can have this in place, many, many more may be educated as to their rights when the landlords begin the eviction process. Other communities have taken similar actions, as we've heard, and I think we all know that there are many renters who may not know their rights under the Florida Resident Landlord Tenant Act or the Federal Fair Housing Act. Having a renter's bill in our county, a Bill of Rights in our county, will clarify both for landlords and tenants what the terms of agreements are and how to allow them to work effectively together in order to avoid the legal disputes, appearances in court, or potentially homelessness. And with that, I'd like to say that the motion is exactly as it appears in the backup. So I'm going to direct the county, I'd like to make a motion to direct the county attorney's office to draft an ordinance to be presented at our next regular board meeting for adoption of the Renters' Bill of Rights, requiring landlords to provide a notice to tenants of their housing rights and identify sources for tenant assistance landlords, including a provision to the Renters' Bill of Rights prohibiting landlords from discriminating against prospective tenants on the basis of lawful sources of income, including Section 8 vouchers.
Second.
Thank you. And we have many seconds, I think. So we have Commissioner Overman, and I heard Commissioner Cohen and Commissioner Smith seconding, and I might have heard someone else. And we'll move to Commissioner Hagan. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to first of all thank Commissioner Overman for initiating this program. I also believe it's important to bring equity to our non-homeowners. It's also very important to ensure compliance and accountability. We have a vendor that manages our vacant, abandoned, and foreclosure registry, and I'm wondering if there's any value in the services that they are already providing to the county, and if that could potentially strengthen the program that's going to come back in front of us. So I guess I just have a question to Bonnie. Do you know how that would work, or have you looked into that, or do you have any suggestions on that?
I think, Commissioner, that could be an option. We would like to have the opportunity to look at that. That could enhance the program.
Okay. Is that something that requires a motion, or can you just do that and bring it back for us to consider? Or I'm happy to do it if necessary, but
We could look into that and bring it back when we bring back the item.
sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, and Commissioner Smith, I thought I saw your name up first, even though other names
Yes,
are.
and
You're recognized.
thank you. And I really appreciate staff and of Affordable Housing Department and our attorneys for bringing this forward with all these pieces. I think there's a lot of very important parts to this, and I'm happy to see it moving forward completely with all of these. I won't go into much discussion at this time, except for to say that I think the full motion as it is here in the agenda and that Commissioner Overman read is very important to bring back to